dealing with troublesome people and narcissists through the lens of Stoicism. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Socrates. This profound observation by the great philosopher rings true even today. Despite unprecedented material abundance, inner discontentment plagues modern society. An insatiable desire for validation, wealth, status, and stimulation drives much dysfunction, from digital addiction to rampant consumerism to soaring rates of anxiety and depression. At the interpersonal level, this dissatisfaction with what is also erupts as all too common friction and conflict. We witness this tension on the daily news and likely experience it personally, whether an inconsiderate stranger, selfish friend, or manipulative boss. Difficult people are an inescapable fact of shared space. Stoicism, the ancient Greek and Roman philosophy founded in the 3rd century BC, offers timeless wisdom for maintaining equanimity amidst inevitable clashes. Rather than struggling to change challenging characters, usually an exercise in futility, the Stoics provide concrete tools to master our reactions. Important announcement before we get immersed in the 7 lessons. Dear friends, I'm excited to announce that we are soon starting a transformative 30-day video course here on the Recover Thyself channel, exploring the profound wisdom of Stoic philosophy and how it can help us find inner peace and purpose even amidst chaos while dealing with narcissists. Over the next 30 days, we will immerse in timeless Stoic principles that shaped history's greatest leaders, from Marcus Aurelius to George Washington. You'll discover how to respond to adversity with equanimity, succeed with virtue rather than greed, and hold your inner citadel of tranquility against the ups and downs of fortune when facing narcissists. This is also a space to connect with other conscious survivors seeking self-mastery and actualization after narcissistic abuse. Engage in thoughtful discussion in the comments. Share your challenges, epiphanies, insights from trying these principles, and support each other's growth. To set the optimal mindset as we embark on this journey, today we present a morning routine rooted in Stoic wisdom designed to attune us to what truly matters while dealing skillfully with daily struggles with narcissists. Before you immerse in this first essential ritual, please support this community by liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. It will allow us to keep creating empowering content for conscious survivors aiming to positively impact the world. Let us explore 10 Stoic lessons on engaging skillfully with difficult people. Lesson 1. View toxic people as opportunities to practice virtue. Pierre Hadot called Stoic philosophy an art of living daily applied principles rather than abstract theory. Central to this art of living was cultivating virtue, what Stoics considered the sole good. Specifically, they emphasized wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Dealing with obnoxious people can therefore be seen as opportunities to respond with virtue over pettiness. For example, when insulted, we can choose understanding over outrage. When blamed unfairly, we can choose honesty over deceit. When manipulated, we can choose assertiveness over passive aggression. As Epictetus said, remember that it is we who torment ourselves. So if people try to obstruct you or give you trouble in your right pursuits, don't take it personally, but continue on your way. In other words, keep eyes firmly fixed on our own character rather than vindicating ego. Lesson 2. Establish healthy boundaries around toxic behavior. Stoics were not pushovers. They understood toxic behaviors demand limits to prevent further harm. As the philosopher Seneca stated, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those who you are capable of improving. The process is a mutual one. In other words, curtail time in relationships bringing out our worst selves, and gravitate to ones fostering mutual growth, even if requiring difficult boundaries. For example, signs of a narcissistic parent might include demeaning, critical or abusive language, over-controlling behavior and invasive demands, raging when needs aren't catered to, blaming others for mistakes, delusions of superiority and entitlement. In such situations, firm boundaries are not just acceptable, but essential. Just because someone birthed or raised us does not permit them unlimited license to mistreat us. Access can be denied until they seek help. Lesson 3. Recognize toxic behaviors carry their own misery. A core Stoic tenet is that vice carries the punishment within itself, whereas virtue brings rewards. Those behaving badly ultimately suffer, carrying misery as their shadow even if not acknowledging it openly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Kindness is invincible, provided it's sincere." For what can even the most malicious person do if you keep showing kindness, and, if given the chance, you gently advise them about how they might change their approach? Not in a carping, critical way, but with true affection and empathy for their views, even if misguided. In other words, one finds peace realizing our difficult colleague, relative, or neighbor likely contends with inner turbulence or cognitive distortions. Their suffering begets more suffering rather than righteousness, teaching them a lesson. With this lens of empathy, we refrain from spiteful retaliation or revenge. Lesson 4. Differentiate between what is within our control. Cognitive therapists today often encourage clients to consider what parts of a frustrating situation they can control versus cannot. The Stoics practiced a similar self-reflection exercise called the internal citadel. This involved daily journaling, noting when we blame outside events rather than our reactions for upset, and how to take more ownership over interpretations. As Epictetus noted, man is disturbed not by things, but by his opinion about things. For example, getting cut off aggressively in traffic, we might think, how dare that idiot driver speed by me so rudely? But is the driver's rushing really the source of annoyance? Or, rather, our judgment he's an idiot? After all, does his driving truly impact us beyond temporary inconvenience? Is raging about strangers worth the blood pressure spike? Through this lens, we realize much frustration comes from inflated opinions, not external acts. And we always own power over inner opinions. Lesson 5. Embrace reality whole, including difficult people. Amor fati, translated as a love of one's fates, was a common Stoic practice. This involved embracing reality as it is, even uncomfortable people and situations, rather than resisting what cannot be changed. Wishful thinking only prolongs suffering, so accept the present wholeheartedly in all manifestations. Or, as Marcus Aurelius eloquently put it, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Another Stoic philosopher, Seneca, wrote, resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. In other words, why take on secondhand suffering? Better to let go of idealized alternatives and work with life directly. Say, for example, a relative constantly complains, creating tension at family gatherings. Rather than dreading contact, a Stoic accepts the reality while establishing healthy boundaries if needed. She understands this person likely copes with latent pain-fueling, unpleasant behaviors. Deep down, he wishes to relax and enjoy the occasion like others, but cannot help carrying baggage-stoking misery. With radical acceptance, one drops resentment and responds more skillfully. Lesson 6. Understand behavior reflects inner chaos. Stoics practiced negative visualization, imagining worst-case scenarios to foster gratitude and emotional resilience. By frequently reflecting on mortality, loss, aging, sickness, and defeat, they became less reactive when facing difficulties. This led to great compassion towards those struggling. Marcus Aurelius wrote, begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. To be angry at people means you share their failures. In other words, see through surface behaviors into the inner turmoil driving them. Stoics realized hostile reactions often reflect a troubled soul rather than intention to harm others. Our difficult colleague, relative, or neighbor wrestles with cognitive distortions linking to underlying wounds. By blaming, deceiving, or manipulating, they unconsciously try escaping their inner chaos, oblivious it cannot alleviate suffering. Seeing this truth fosters responding with calmness and care rather than irritation or vengeance. Lesson 7. Never grant toxic behaviors power to diminish your worth. While maintaining healthy relationships boundaries, Stoics understood that others' opinions do not actually impact our value and dignity. These remain inviolable, regardless of external attitudes or words. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." In other words, how we interpret challenging people carries far greater power over inner hurt than what they actually say or do. If someone calls us useless fools, do we accept this perspective as truth, or recognize it reveals more about their psychology? If we believe it, toxicity wins. But if seen as baseless, our worth holds steady as other storms pass. Epictetus, contemporary Stoic teacher and author, wrote on this distinction: "Beware the passive response when facing those intent on exploitation, for they wish you spineless, that their toxic harvest continue unchecked. Stand rather in what is virtuous, direct in truth, yet subtle in method. Meet their artifice with wisdom, their manipulations with courage, their lies with honesty. Let firm boundaries instruct where words lack. But also stay gentle in the heart, for darkness cannot overcome darkness, only light." Lesson 8. Cultivate humility and temperance between impulse and response. A pivotal Stoic practice involved self-restraint, pausing when reactive emotions surge before responding rashly. Modern cognitive science confirms when strong feelings arise, activated structures in the limbic system of our brain often overpower the prefrontal cortex where rationality resides. By not allowing time for the latter to regain functions, regret typically follows. Stoics therefore trained themselves to resist reacting instantly. Breathe slowly, turn attention inward, then outward. See the truth. Then decide action. As Epictetus noted, if you want to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. Don't wish to seem knowledgeable. And if some regard you as important, distrust yourself. In other words, catch ourselves when succumbing to defensive pride or self-righteousness. Then recall our essential vision. Communicate this vision humbly and tempered rather than reacting rashly. Lesson 9. Confront unacceptable behavior without venom. While seeking understanding around others' quirks and wounds, Stoics resisted excusing toxic patterns. They confronted loved ones about unacceptable treatment respectfully, but unequivocally prioritizing the greater good, rather mutually enabling dysfunction. For example, a wife realizes her husband's verbal abuse actually links to low self-worth and latent childhood trauma. However, she also knows allowing continuing mistreatment enables rather than supports his healing. Compassionately pointing this out becomes wise even if difficult conversations or trial separation result. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Speak truth firmly, but without self-righteousness or pettiness, maintaining dignity for all involved." Lesson 10. Relinquish desired outcomes around toxic people. Attempts to control difficult people usually prove exhausting with minimal results. Stoics allowed natural consequences to instruct rather than seeing themselves as reformers. As Epictetus noted, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle: some things are within our control and some things are not. It is only after you have faced up to this fundamental rule and learned to distinguish between what you can and can't control that inner tranquility and outer effectiveness become possible. This unexpected yet profound lesson around difficult people may be the most liberating. By focusing energy on our own character development rather than changing resistant people, happiness flows. And ironically, as Gandhi observed, they just may notice the transformation indirectly without being cajoled. In summary, Stoic philosophy offers practical principles for engaging skillfully with difficult people that still ring true today. 1. View friction and conflict as invaluable opportunities to exemplify wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation. 2. Establish firm boundaries around abusive, manipulative, or misleading conduct. 3. Recognize hurt people often hurt people. Their misery screams for relief rather than further antagonism. 4. Differentiate between what factors fall within our control vs. what does not. Much useless suffering follows exaggerating the latter. 5. Practice radical acceptance of what is, including difficult people and scenarios we wish were otherwise. Allowing reality's currents to guide. 6. See through surface behaviors to the underlying chaos, spurring attacks, deception, and obstruction. Respond with compassion, since few misbehave from legitimate reasons. 7. Grant no one permission to diminish your worth or dignity, regardless of words or deeds thrown against the citadel. Stand in values, self-respect, and vision. 8. When reactive emotions surge, pause to gather strength, diffusing in breath before responding rashly. Speak truth firmly, but also humbly. 9. Let natural consequences instruct those harming self/others rather than seeing ourselves as reformers. Allowing life to teach its lessons. 10. Finding happiness requires relinquishing desired outcomes around difficult people. Focus energy on personal growth and rest in inner realms beyond others' reach. If you resonated with these principles on skillfully engaging difficult people and want to go deeper into applying Stoic wisdom to navigate narcissistic relationships, I invite you to join this channel. By subscribing and staying tuned for regular videos, you'll discover more profound lessons and practices from managing emotional regulation when triggered to establishing empowering boundaries. You'll also find support connecting with our growing community of conscious survivors seeking self-mastery. Together, we can cultivate inner resilience and tranquility, our safe refuge, and guiding light when facing turmoil. As Seneca reminds us, we suffer more from imagination than reality, so let us anchor in timeless wisdom. I appreciate you taking this journey with me into the liberation promised by the Stoic sages centuries ago. Only by putting these ideas into action will we experience the incredible power awaiting our discovery during such transitional times.